Hey, welcome to the Razzle Dazzle Show, a podcast where we make connections through the lens of video games and all things pop culture. I'm your host, Jared, and this month marks 1 year since the announcement of Shade Protocol, and we're celebrating by talking to the other members of the dev team. Today's guest is Dillan Schmitz, also known as King Aurorus. Dillan's an award-winning composer and sound designer and award-nominated producer, having worked on titles such as Get to Work, Dark Age Dinos, and the upcoming Shade Protocol. A graduate of Berklee College of Music, Dillan has worked in media composition and sound design for over 7 years. His work also includes films, such as the award-winning Mixed Signals, which won him Best Sound Design at 4 separate events. Dillan was also a speaker at the prestigious GDC 2025, where he spoke on artistic integrity in commercial audio. Finally, Dillan also contributes to his local indie development scene as a director at the Calgary Game Developers Association, helping to prop up the industry in his hometown. Please let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Links to them are down below. And with all that being said,
it's Razzle Dazzle time.
Hello, Dillan. Thank you so much for being on the show. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Well, before we get anywhere, I have a quick Kickstarter question for you. What's your favorite video game sound effect of all time?
Oh, probably the chest opening from like Legend of Zelda, or the item discovery, because that one's just so iconic.
Yes, it is. Any specific version, depending on the game?
Probably I don't think it's the greatest game of all time, but I love the Ocarina one. There's something very dinky about it, because it was old samples that they had to use for that stuff, so it's got a little bit of it's got a bit of a grittiness to it.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, through my research, I told you this right before we started, that I've learned that you are a Zelda fan and a Final Fantasy 13 fan, and The Legend of Zelda is my favorite video game franchise of all time. My favorite game of all time, therefore, is the Minish Cap. Absolutely love that game for everything it has. And Final Fantasy 13 has been with me since I was probably 13. My first Final Fantasy. My favorite Final Fantasy is 7, but my first as being 13 is it's just special.
My first was 13 too.
Wow.
I went backwards.
I'm sorry.
From 13.
13
and then...
Okay, I thought you were saying 13 also, but you mean 13 too.
No, I mean 13 also.
Okay.
I didn't start with 13 too. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
My first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy 13.
Wow.
I worked my way backwards from there. I haven't played every single Final Fantasy game at this point. There's a couple still missing from the list, but I worked my way backwards from that one, and it was really funny starting with that, because it was obviously a very linear game at the beginning, and that was one of the main criticisms for it. So going backwards, it was a very interesting experience going the other way, where you had more freedom.
Right. Yeah, and have you played 13-2 and Lightning Returns yet?
13-2, I never played Lightning Returns, but I have watched playthroughs.
Gotcha. Yeah, I told you that I've recently gone through all those games. I haven't picked up 13. I never finished it as a kid or as a teenager. I never finished it because the only time I had available to play video games for myself was like Fridays and Saturdays from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. because I was in a 1-bedroom condo, and my parents were strict about me not being able to play games because I got to study for school or whatever.
Yep.
So very restricted, and a few hours 2 times a week is not enough to get through a Final Fantasy game, especially 13.
No, those games, they're so incredibly long.
Yeah.
Whenever a new one comes out, I usually try to dedicate a weekend or so just to get myself into it, because I'm also a bit of a completionist.
Same.
I fully platinumed the recent Final Fantasy VII remake and
Nice.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy platinum.
It is
that takes
not
so long.
I platinum remake and the Yuffie DLC stuff, and I am still working on Rebirth. All I have to do is all I have to do is just play the game on hard mode, I think, and then I'm good. But yeah, I'm still working my way. But you still haven't played 13-2 and Lightning Returns. I think 13-2.
No, I played 13-2.
Oh, you have played 13-2.
I just didn't play Lightning Returns. Yeah.
Man, I think that's the best in trilogy, honestly.
Really?
It's like Majora's Mask, but Final Fantasy. I like it a lot.
Catalog then.
Yeah, I like it a lot. You get a lot of freedom, even though there's a time limit, right? But there's a lot of ways to go around that. It's you get to spend a lot of time with Lightning, which I feel like we didn't get to for the rest of the trilogy. But anyways, that's its own conversation. I just wanted to bring it up because I love them too. But the real start of this conversation, this interview, I want to start with you at the beginning. Can you tell us, where did you grow up and how'd you describe the musical background of your childhood?
Yeah, so I grew up in Calgary, Alberta. I'm still there, but I do a lot of traveling these days, so I haven't had the itch quite to leave yet. And my musical background was somewhat limited. My family were from like farms, were from industrial and stuff like that. Like neither of my parents are artists. So I really grew up kind of in that like classic like conservative household where the music I was introduced to was 80s music. I wouldn't say that was the initial background though, because I did start playing video games very early. I had a Nintendo 64 when I was a child, and I played through Legend of Zelda as best I could when I was like 5. Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and so that was sort of my introduction to like game music.
Wow.
A lot of Nintendo games, Pokemon, Legend of Zelda. I got to play early Resident Evils, and that influenced me so much. Started taking piano lessons because of how inspired I was by like those video game soundtracks.
Really?
Didn't
at the young age of 5 that already like clicked to you?
No. Leading up to about 8 years old is when I started did that. But that was the kind of music I was listening to that early on. I remember ripping that music off of like YouTube and trying to get it onto what was called Rocket Fly or MP3 Rocket.
Sure.
To get those sounds, and they were brutal and old. You remember how MP3s used to be, where the quality in them just wasn't very good. Right. So I was ripping those soundtracks off and putting them onto my dinky little MP3 player that I had to just be able to listen to them, because you couldn't buy that stuff. You couldn't get it on Apple iTunes. Soundtracks being released wasn't really that common yet.
Especially for games.
That was especially for games, but the same was true for anime. Like anime was not popular yet. That was kind of around 2010 when that became more mainstream. So before that, if I had an anime where I really liked the soundtrack, I was ripping that stuff off of weird Japanese websites where it was up for free and getting that onto my play. And people would be like, "Oh, you want to like put your phone on or whatever it was, the MP3 player on the car speakers?" No. Skip me.
Yeah.
Because my entire thing was just soundtrack music.
So Napster.
So I was taking piano lessons. Napster, actually specifically mine was MP3 Rocket. I never got to touch Napster.
Oh really? Oh, okay, cool.
No.
Wow.
But anyways, so I did that. I did piano lessons for a couple of years, guitar lessons for a couple of years. That didn't really go anywhere though. At some point, I think I got disillusioned by like the classical method. Maybe I just was too young, because I did come back to it. I did not pick up music again until high school, second year, grade 11, where I was somewhat forcefully put into the local marching band, the Bishop Grandin Ghosts. They are no longer called that. The school went through a rebrand, but that was the name of the marching band at the time. I was a front ensemble, which means the early percussion, so like marimbas, vibraphones, timpanis. And I played that for a summer, and I loved it. I loved it so much. That became my extracurricular going forward, because until then I had been playing just hockey. Conservative household, Canada, we play hockey. That's what we do. But I started doing that. And the next summer I did that, and then I auditioned for the Calgary Stampede Show Band, and they had won at that time 4 World Marching Band Association titles. So I got to join them for their trip to Brazil. We won Worlds there, which is awesome. And that was sort of my first like kick in the butt of like, oh my God, I love music. I want to do music. But here was the challenge. Yeah. I was in first year psychology. I think I had like a 2.1 GPA my first year ending. So it was really terrible because I was not applying myself. It was a lot of rogue memorization. It was just not my world. But music was still kind of like, again, conservative household. It's very hard to convince your parents, especially when they're helping you through university, that I should go for a music degree. Music degrees are not traditionally known as that well. So what I did was I actually did like a whole summer of just figuring out how I could make this a career. I'd always liked video game music. I was still doing the ripping off YouTube and stuff at this point. Like that never went away. And I learned about soundtrack composition, how I could get into it, and how it was basically a way for me to be able to pursue music as a career without having to go down the pop music route. And so I gave my parents a whole PowerPoint presentation showing them how I would make this into a business, because they're very money-oriented people, right? They taught me a lot about business. They taught me about how to kind of like stay, all that stuff. All the artistic stuff comes from me, and I had to learn all that. So gave them the PowerPoint. They were like, you know what? We'll give you like 2 years to figure out how you're going to make this consistent. If you can do that, we'll keep supporting you past that. And so the first 2 years, I got to join the music program at my local university, University of Calgary. I got into their Bachelor of Music program. I was studying classical composition. On the side, I was taking every single little commission I could get. There was one summer where I did something like 30 game jams, which for those of you who don't know, game jams are a really typical way to get into the game development kind of world. They're usually over the course of a weekend or a week. You join a team, you build something in that amount of time, and hope it goes well. Right. Sometimes there's competitions and prizes. But I spent that one summer, which I can't remember the exact date, but I spent that time doing 30 game jams, was like 3 or something game jams a weekend, just building out an entire portfolio. And throughout all this time going to school, I was picking up VSTs for many of the commissions that I got. So if I got paid, that would go right back into kind of funding more software and stuff that I could use, more instruments, better equipment. I was doing these game jams, building out portfolios. I was working also random jobs, like I was a wedding DJ for a little bit. I worked at a local music store, and just doing all of that until finally, after my first degree, I went to Berklee College of Music. The day I graduated from Berklee College of Music is when I was like, okay, I've saved up about $20,000. I can sustain myself for about 6 months.
Right.
Let's just go all in. I'd been getting commissions here and there up until that point. I had a pretty decent portfolio. I'd learned about orchestration. I'd learned about production. I had a little bit of a portfolio of things like that I'd done that I could kind of showcase to new potential clients. Jumped in. And my first month, which was January 2022, like going full time, I got like 4 commissions, 4 projects right off the bat. And it's been steady flowing ever since then.
It's crazy how recent this is. Crazy how recent.
Yeah. Like I've been doing commission work for almost 7 years now, but full time, I started in 2022 basically.
Amazing. Okay, we will dive deeper into that, but first I just want to get some more groundwork. So you said that you were introduced by your parents with a lot of 80s music.
Oh yeah.
Such
that was
as
like my initial backing. Oh, AC/DC, ABBA, just think of all the different
pop rock
bands that I listened to.
Or just pop?
Mostly rock.
Classic rock.
Mostly rock. A little bit of country. Classic rock basically is the entire basis. Again, I was a hockey
and
kid
this is from
first.
your parents, right? Like this is the influence you got from your parents. Okay. Hockey first?
Hockey first, and that's what we grew up listening to.
Right.
When you go to hockey games, you are listening to 80s rock music. That is what is playing. That's what's playing on the speakers. That's what's playing in the change room.
Yeah.
All of that was my initial kind of introduction to music, period. And then it was soundtrack that came from the video games I was playing in my childhood.
Yes. Video games and anime, or primarily games?
Video games first, and then anime.
And then
anime came when I was about maybe 8 or 9.
Right. When
my first anime was like, it was Cardcaptor Sakura. I watched that on cartoon.
So at an age where you're like actually able to pay attention to more than just, oh, pretty colors. Got it.
Pretty much.
Got
like
it.
the video games, if I'm being honest, when I was like playing The Legend of Zelda when I was 5, I wasn't really making very much progress.
Right.
Like, that was slow pickings.
Right.
Because I didn't know what was going on.
I completely understand. My first console was a GameCube. The Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness Special Edition GameCube, mind you.
Ooh,
so of course,
fantastic
I still have it too. I still have my original. I love it. So therefore, my first video game ever technically is Pokemon XD. I remember not being able to get past the like Mecha Groudon fight just because I didn't know where else to go. Because I didn't read. Another one of my first games that I got with the GameCube was Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door. I remember playing the prologue or whatever it was called, the first chapter, and I eventually made it to the titular Thousand Year Door because like you can see it early in the game, and I was like, cool, I made it. That's it, right? Then I stopped playing.
Yeah,
never played it again until like the remake for the Switch.
And that's the era as well when like internet was just kind of happening. Like it was like you could look stuff up a little bit, but it was through forums.
Yes.
So there wasn't any dedicated IGN, or if it was not very popular yet.
And I was just
so you were really
too young
banging your head against the wall.
Yeah, and I was still too young to even understand that I can look things up online to help me with games, you know? So like I was really shit out of luck until, you know, I grew older and like learned to, oh wait, I need to read what's going on to pay attention and play the game. And now like JRPGs are like one of my favorite genres ever. So therefore that's a lot of reading. But really cool. Anyways, Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, Pokemon.
Yep.
So I'm assuming around this time, what was it? Gen 3 of Pokemon? Like Hoenn?
This would so like my first title that I was probably fully lucid for was Gen 3.
Fully lucid.
I got a yeah, well, because I got a copy. My first Pokemon game is Pokemon Blue.
Got it.
I had a copy of it when I was like 5. I got it from my cousin who was done with it. He gave me his Game Boy Color, which sadly broke a while back. I had to get a new one. I had to go searching for one. My original Game Boy Color, which was the like purple one with the insides.
Yeah.
That broke down on me, and I had to go sourcing for a new one. So I was like, that's too classic. I can't not have
Devastating.
it. So I played Pokemon Blue, and I beat it when I was maybe 7 or something. I can't remember. But my first game where I was fully like lucid and playing was Hoenn. So that was Pokemon Sapphire. I was there when Emerald came out.
Yeah.
I actually had all 3 copies. Beat Sapphire, Ruby, and Emerald.
Wow.
And then, oh yeah, I loved that game. I loved that game to death. I still have my original copies.
Yeah.
And that was I like to. My first video game ever was Jet Force Gemini on the N64.
I know that game.
Beat. Yeah, but my first game where I truly like was a gamer, playing a game, finished it, knew what was happening, was probably Pokemon Sapphire.
Charizard is your favorite Pokemon?
No.
No?
Not
Oh,
by a long shot.
the plushie behind you says otherwise.
I like that plushie, but that's not my favorite Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon, here, these are my favorite Pokemon.
Umbreon and
have one more.
Kyogre. Nice.
Yeah, I keep them up here. They're hidden away. My favorite Pokemon of all time is Umbreon, and then my second favorite is Flygon, third is Kyogre.
Dude. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. My favorite's got to be my starter. You know, my first like I say Pokemon XD is my first Pokemon game. It is technically, but like the first Pokemon game where like you said, fully lucid for and like played all the way through was Soul Silver.
Soul Silver. Ooh,
man,
that's a great title.
Man, it's a perfect Pokemon game. It is like the best Pokemon game out there.
It is. I think it's consistently ranked as the best one.
Yeah, right.
It and Heart Gold.
Yes, yeah. And my starter was Totodile. So for Alligator is my number 1. Lugia is my number 2. You know? Yeah, man. I still wish I had that copy. But anyways, I'm just reminiscing. Cool. All right. Love that we're building this background. So, can you tell me what was the first band or musician that really got your attention when you were a kid?
First band or musician?
And I don't mean like influenced by your parents. Like you discovered a band or a musician, you're like, holy shit, I love this.
So it was Koji Kondo.
Wow.
That was like
love that.
I truly when I say I'm like into soundtrack composition, that is not even like that's not an exaggeration by any sense of the word. I have loved video game music. It's what I listen to. The majority of music on my phone now is all video game music. I'm still listening to, even if I don't play a game. Sometimes I'll just listen to the soundtrack just to see what's going on with it. I get a lot of inspiration from games I've never played, but I listen to their soundtracks or I watch the story beats on YouTube. Like Koji Kondo was the first one, and then obviously I expanded from there. And some of my biggest influences like Masashi Hamauzu, which is Final Fantasy 13. Austin Wintory with like Journey, which was just an incredible score. Kenichi Tokoi, which is some of the Sonic the Hedgehog games. These people all are
David Wise.
David Wise, I love David Wise as well. Donkey Kong Country,
and
Donkey Kong Country 2, I believe as well, but I can't remember for sure. Like these guys, their music was something that I couldn't get from traditional media.
Of course.
Pop music was doing its own thing for a very long time, and now I'm starting to see kind of that more wider influence, especially as social media has just made it so much easier to get to niche topics. But like that was the stuff I loved. And then anime music as well. that was more stuff that I just couldn't get from traditional pop music because at the time, you know, that early 2000s, even up until like about 2010, it just wasn't popular. And it sounds so different.
Inuyasha, dude?
Like a lot of, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like all of the stuff I was listening to as well, I guess I may as well put, it always has a bit of a jazz influence. Like a lot of these composers are either classically trained or jazz trained.
Do you know? Here, keep talking. I'm going to look something up and then I'll bring it up. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. But like Western pop music does not, or did not at the time, use a lot of jazz influence. And I love jazz. I love the sound of it. Whereas Japanese media, Japanese composers, and some of the kind of like higher end Western composers, or the more trained Western composers did. So that was the only place I was able to get the music that I really enjoyed.
Right.
Was by scraping it off the internet until it became popular to finally release soundtracks in the West, to release video game soundtracks, and when anime kind of popped off in 2010 and became really mainstream after Attack on Titan.
Do you know the artist? Oh my God, I hope I don't mispronounce this. Takako Mamiya?
It sounds familiar, but
she only has
I
one
don't know for
album called Love Trip before like she passed away years ago, and this came out in 82. It is one of the best albums I've heard in a long time. And like I bring this up because it's very jazzy, city poppy, you know, like kind of that old school
pop,
anime feel. You know what I mean? Like definitely something you will put on in a late night drive through the city. Like that type of feel. You know what I mean?
that stuff is so much fun. Honestly, I didn't discover city pop until like way later alongside
Gotcha.
everybody else. But like when I did, I was like, oh my God, this is so much
Yeah.
fun.
And this
It's
album,
like what I wish pop music was.
right. And this album is also like very jazzy too, so you might like it. I recommend. But very, very cool. So to move on a bit, this next question requires a bit of context, so please bear with me. As I mentioned before recording, I'm a producer and audio engineer for an NPR PBS station in Southwest Florida, and we have a other podcast called 3 Song Stories that I'm a part of, where we tell people's biography through music. The guests will come in, they'll pick 3 songs that every time they listen to these songs, they immediately get transported back to a time and place that they have a significant story associated with it. It could be anything. It could be a funny little anecdote. It could be something serious, sad, or something very important to their lives. Whatever. I want to ask you off the top of your head, do you have one song story you're willing to share?
Yeah. I think that I'll probably give you one of the more... let me think about what's the best one to bring up here. You know what? I'll go with a pop music track, but I have to look it up because I can't remember. It's been a while since I've listened to it. I believe it's called Oh Brother. Yes. So the name of the song is Last Breath by the band Oh Brother. It's from 2011. It's an alternative rock title. And I know that I said soundtrack music is my favorite, but there's a couple titles that kind of poke out. This was the song of basically my first relationship. She loved this track. She loved this track a lot, and although that relationship ended, I kind of always go back to it as a sort of solemn piece that gets my head kind of straight. It's evolved from that relationship into sort of a almost like grounding track for me, I guess is the best way to put it, where it brings me back to that kind of initial time when I was first considering kind of trying to get into music. First time I had a glimmer in kind of like my eyes about that.
How does that song fit into your life today?
Last Breath, yeah.
Last Breath.
Last Breath is, to me, sometimes almost like a little bit of an anthem. So sometimes if I'm feeling kind of like I'm my head's not on straight, or I'm feeling like I'm not focused enough for what I really need to be doing, I give that song a listen. And I find for some reason because it has that kind of transportation effect of taking you back to that different time, it sort of regrounds me and kind of puts me in the moment, I guess is the best way to put it. Which is weird, saying that it takes you back to 2011 and puts you in the moment, but that's how I feel about it.
It's like a soft reset, maybe.
That's a great way to put it. A great way to put it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. Now to move on more into your career a little bit, we've already discussed that you've been working in composition sound design for over 7 years now, and we've talked about the moment where you realize this isn't just a hobby. We talked about where the inspiration of this path of your life has gone through already, which is all very, very fascinating. And then you also mentioned that you studied at the Berklee College of Music, which of course has produced a lot of legendary composers over the years.
Oh yeah.
I guess this might be like a multi-parter question, but what was the most important thing you actually learned there and just throughout your journey up until that point that stuck with you professionally, that like this is your sound audio production Bible? You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. So my teacher, Professor Alan Bell, I think he actually has an honorary doctorate now. So Dr. Alan Bell. He's a Juno Award-winning composer, but he comes exclusively from the classical world. This was actually in my first degree at the University of Calgary. He said something to me that to this day I still live by. And it's not focused on like musical theory or musical harmony. It's more like the theory of how to create something artistic. I was very clear kind of in my entire journey through that school that I wanted to go into commercial music. I wanted to go into games. I wanted to go into film. That ended up being exclusive to games, but that was later. And that school was a very contemporary classical, contemporary meaning kind of like more unique or more weird stuff.
Right.
If you guys ever want to have a wild night, go listen to contemporary classical music. You will experience a world that not many people besides music students do. And it always came up, I was like, no one would like to hear this. This stuff is very weird. It's very, very atonal and kind of odd. It's much closer to sound design, in my opinion. But he was always like, okay, well, here's something that I'll say when it comes to this music. Because his music I genuinely really loved. It was weird, it was strange, it was doing unique stuff, but it still felt a little bit more grounded than some of the other compositions I'd heard. He was like, when I write music, I am always thinking about making sure that I am pushing the boundaries and getting past whatever everyone else is doing. But I do make sure that we're not going so far out that we entirely alienate the audience. This was something that bothered me about a lot of contemporary classical music, was it went so far. And again, you're going to have to listen to it. Take my word for it. If you ever want to go on the wild trip, listen to 12-tone music. That stuff's wild. And it went so far that I felt like this is not approachable for anybody, unless you're listening to a horror soundtrack. But that stuck with me. It was like, create something that people can still grab onto, but pushes just enough that you're creating something unique into the world. It kind of came back to that thought process of, if you create something that no one's going to listen to, it won't change the dynamic or the world of music because no one's going to hear it. But if you create something that still adheres a little bit to what they want, but then pushes outside those boundaries, that pushes outside of the box, that's where kind of the best music is, because it does change the landscape by introducing something new.
That's a lot to unpack. That's like
I can shorten that if you'd like.
That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. I just mean like that is hitting me hard in a good way. Like it's a different way of understanding how to view music, I guess. And this is part of why I love having composers and other very talented people like you on the show. Like we've had, Eric Benaim, we've had Joel Corlitz, we've had Adam Gutman, Sean Beeson, Riley Koenig, et cetera, et cetera. And getting to hear so many different parts of or points of views of the overall of this industry is fascinating, and how each of you like approach it in semi different views. You know what I mean? So like I think that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. First of all,
yeah.
I understand that you work both as a composer and sound designer.
I do, yep.
For people who don't know the difference, right? How would you describe these two roles, first of all?
So music composition is what it sounds like. It's the music behind it.
Right.
But sound design is entirely different. Sometimes people put them together, but sound design is all of the other things that are going on besides the music. So your sword swing, the footsteps, the ambience in the background, the wind, the hits, the big attacks. If you ever turn off the music slider in a video game and you just listen to the audio, all of that encompasses what we call sound design. And then that can be broken up into even further categories.
Sound effects.
Sound design,
right?
Foley. Yeah, a whole bunch of things.
Right.
But that world, although they both share the similarity of being audio, they honestly work very differently.
I bet.
The purpose of them, how you create them, it's very different practices. And generally speaking, there are entire different fields of expertise that go into one or the other.
Right. And Foley, for example, it's like making the sounds of footsteps, but with like, I don't know, straws and like tapping it on like a rock or something, right? Just for clarification.
Foley is the way that I define it, which isn't, I think, the 100% correct definition, but sound design is basically when you're creating something that usually doesn't exist. So like a laser sword, we do not have those in real life. But we can sound design something. We can create it. We can imagine it. Whereas Foley tends to be more recreating or creating with that exact material stuff that does exist in real life. So footsteps, they exist. A door handle, that exists. You might not necessarily use the door handle to create the door handle sound, but it does exist.
Yeah.
We know what it's supposed to sound like. And then there's a little bit of a weird gray area in the middle, which is something like a gun sound. A gun does exist, but we never use a natural gun sound in
blow out the mic.
Effects. No, it just doesn't sound very... It's actually the opposite. It's not very powerful.
Oh, okay.
If you ever hear a gun in real life, if you ever go shooting a gun, they are pathetically weak sounding compared to the kind of stuff that you're hearing in Call of Duty or any other games like that. We completely annihilate these sounds. We add distortion, we add boom, we add so much stuff to make them sound the way they do. The biggest difference, if you ever want to have a wild trip, is there's a video online that showcases John Wick. I think it was movie 3, and it shows the scene where basically him and another guy are having a shootout with a whole crowd of people around them. They're like doing like silenced guns.
Yeah.
And the silenced guns are always the opposite. They're always made way quieter sounding than they actually are in real life. So you hear like in the movie, it's like, but in real life, it's like, this is what these guns would sound like in real life. So you watch them do it with the actual like movie sound, then you show it for real. And it's like, and all these people are completely unaware. It's like, no way in hell no one would know this is happening. And then on the other side, the more kind of traditional way this stuff goes, like a sniper rifle.
Right.
Let's take like an Arctic International or an Accuracy International sniper rifle. You shoot it, it's like a... But in games, I'm not it'll blow out the mic, but the sound of a sniper in guns is way more dramatic than that.
One of the best examples of this type of sound design is in Star Wars, where the way they discovered how to make the blaster sounds was like through a telephone pole or
they
one of the
slapped
cables.
The telephone wire.
Yeah, crazy thing to watch. It's so freaking cool, and it's just it's amazing. Like, as someone who is an audio producer engineer, and I haven't even touched the realm of sound design or whatever, I think it's fascinating. And you've also won Best Sound Design at 4 different events for the film Mixed Signals. Really quickly, what made that project special?
So Mixed Signals was a short film that won a crazy amount of awards. Its laurels are ridiculous. And it was about basically trying to describe the experience of growing up with autism as a child. The director, Thomas Van Kampen, openly has said that he has autism. He's grown up with it. He is now a full-time animator with a company called Copernicus. They produce like Care Bears and Teen Titans Go. So he's had a really successful career. But something that kind of always stuck with him is like, in school, though, it was completely opposite. It was very antagonistic towards me. I didn't understand how that worked. I didn't understand social cues, got overstimulated a lot. And that movie explores that through the aspect of robots. Like, robots have these like signals that they send to each other to talk. There's no dialogue at all in the movie anywhere. And it explores kind of how these signals sometimes don't necessarily translate perfectly to him, because that robot, or the one that is supposed to kind of represent autism, isn't understanding it fully correctly. What made the sound design of that unique was that I had to basically interpret how to make all of these signals, which were different colors, into sound. And so like the generic one, which is just like a blue sine wave, like we ended up creating basically like somewhat soft sounding sine wavy effect. There's like a pink one, which has a little bit more of a harmony to it. So we have like a major third, major chord kind of harmonic sound to it to make it sound more love, more kind of like friendly. There's also the antagonistic one, which is this red, really like nasty waveform. And the more kind of jittery a waveform is, the more dissonant it tends to be because there's more harmonics basically built into it. So the entirety of that film was basically finding out how could I make these sounds relatable to the average person because there's going to be no dialogue. So I need the people to understand that this is a bad signal, this is a happy signal, this is a love signal, and then that's the entire communication of the emotions and basically world within that film for the entirety of its 12-minute runtime.
Incredible. That is so. I mean, for you, I'm sure it was like you know,
it was cool.
It was play day, right? Like you get to really mess around and like experiment more than what you would normally, I would assume. No.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was sort of it was an experience in psychology more than anything. The sound design, if I'm being honest, wasn't that difficult to create. It wasn't a million miles of effects and all that stuff. It was just, I need this to sound in a way that it's very clear right off the bat what's happening. What kind of communication is happening between the robots. And the average person who has no idea what's going on needs to understand it right off the bat.
Right. Can I assume that there's been inspirations from like droids in Star Wars, like R2, like he has certain beeps and boops.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that clearly indicate his tone and stuff. That's awesome, man. That's so freaking cool. And now film audio, game audio operate very differently. One is linear, one is interactive. I understand like if the person is noticing your sound design, I guess, or your score, that's kind of something you don't want, right? As composer and sound designer.
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
This is the world that I live in every day, which is so challenging. Being a media composer, you don't get to write whatever you want, right? You have to write what works with the project.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's satisfying the project. Sometimes that's satisfying whoever you're working for. Maybe the director has a certain vision that they want to get. But then the other side of it is, how do we make this work within the context? Films are easy, in my opinion. Or easier.
Right.
And I don't ever tell that to a full-time film composer. They'll slap you and say. But for films, what I think is the most important aspect is making sure that the mood of the scene is following whatever's happening. You're kind of following that narrative, and certain sync points, we call them, are hit to emphasize whatever you need to emphasize within that film. That's the hard part of film composition. But in video games, we kind of have to do both. We need to have music that can, one, create the mood or whatever we need within the kind of certain setting. Two, we do have to hit sync points still with things like stingers or switches, but we still have to also adhere to the fact that a player could just choose to stand in the starting area for 3 hours. Like, maybe they don't get to that cinematic moment that we need to kind of like hit that cue point in for 2 hours. They're supposed to hit it in 10 minutes. So now we have to make sure that that track is dynamic. This is the big thing that separates music from video games from film, is that I have to create a track that has a looping point, has a starting point, has an ending point, has a layer that we can bring up on intensity, has the ability to transition into another track if needed, like all of these little elements, and it has to loop. And each part of these has to loop.
Yeah.
It's so many things.
Loop
to keep in mind.
and also rise to that dynamic point at any point within the song.
Basically, and it's usually just segmenting a whole bunch of pieces.
Right.
And then making sure those pieces will work together.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the other aspect of it is, this is true for both film and video games, is that you have to make sure that music is fitting within the entire spectrum of the audio landscape, right? So, like, our general rule of thumb as audio people, and you might know this too, like, dialogue number one.
Yep.
Then sound effects, then music.
Yeah.
And if dialogue and sound effects aren't really there, then the music gets to really shine. It gets to be that moment where they're like staring off into the sunset, like Final Fantasy 13, big swell of music, ending credits in films, like anywhere where you can just forget about those top two. But first comes dialogue, then sound effects. And then if we have room, the music.
The music shines in between all those, where these are opportunities for you to really get sucked into the game or whatever and like lose yourself in it.
100%. Like the music, I say that it's third class. That doesn't mean it's not important.
Yeah.
It just means that we need to make sure that the most important information happening is relevant first.
Mm-hmm.
Dialogue tells us the story and guides us along. Sound effects basically give us information about what's going on in the game or what's going on in the film. Music is the tone setter. It is what determines how a player is going to feel when they're going through that area, which is still very vital. But it needs to be behind those two things when it comes to overall like volume, basically.
Right.
Volume or the way it's orchestrated. In film and video games, we also typically like we'll write music differently than a pop singer would. We're often avoiding that little area of where dialogue and sound effects typically sit, which is around 1,000 to 2,000 hertz. For those of you guys who don't know, that is basically where the human voice is the most prevalent. We try to avoid that area, which is also the main melodic area for music. Our melodies typically sit there. If we want to write something that's in a very dialogue heavy or sound effect heavy area, there's probably not going to be a melody. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. And this all perfectly transitions to one of your latest projects that is still in development. As of when this episode comes out, man, it has been 1 year since Shade Protocol has been announced to the world. Obviously, the Razzle Dazzle Show has been hosting a weekly mini series with Kendall, the game director of us, where we showcase development updates and breakdowns for the game as the game continues to be made. And I really want to take this month as an opportunity to like celebrate every aspect of the game, or at least broad strokes, right? So, of course, Kendo is here to break down the details until I drag you guys into the Breaking Protocol stuff eventually. But here, of course, we want to highlight the music. So, for Shade Protocol, this is what you're currently working on. Cyber fantasy, Metroidvania. I want to start at the beginning with this. How did you first get involved with the project?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I was actually the first hire for the project. At the point of time where I was initially brought on, Kendall, who is the director of the game, he, I think, had a loose story. He had ideas for the gameplay, and then he basically brought me on because he believed, in his mind at least, that the music was going to be the most vital point of the artistic kind of like start of this. He found me through Reddit, through a Reddit post that I had put up, and he had me do a test for him, which went well, obviously. And slowly, it's funny, the initial kind of stuff that we did, which I don't know if I'm at liberty to share, basically, so I won't. But the initial stuff that we did is completely different from what we're doing now. It's evolved so much from when he first brought me on. And it's funny, you say, what did you think of when you saw the game? I didn't. I've seen the game built up. He gave me an initial story kind of concept, and then I've watched as development has basically built up from there.
Incredible. Now, I know from doing research on you, and you talked about this before on a previous show, that making scores for sci-fi can be its own thing. Making scores for fantasy settings, it's its own thing. Star Wars has a unique balance where instead of going for beeps and bloops, he wanted the full orchestral range that John Williams delivered and now is iconic. For Shade Protocol, it's kind of like you're doing the same thing for a very cyber sci-fi world or setting. You're going the orchestral route. You could have easily done what most retro inspired games do and go for the beeps and bloops, and that's fine. Nostalgic, cool, whatever. But yes, this game has a big emphasis on music, and not just music, but orchestral music, and that's exactly what you're also going for in the direction of the game. Can you, without spoiling anything, of course, how would you describe the overall music style or atmosphere of the game as it's evolving now?
Yeah, so we take a lot of inspiration from things like Nier Automata, from Final Fantasy, and that like Shade Protocol is a very story-heavy game. Obviously, our trailers have not quite showed that yet because we haven't had the opportunity to kind of like dabble into that. We've been showcasing kind of gameplay and mechanics, which at the forefront of kind of like trailers is always much more interesting. It's hard to kind of share story over trailers.
Right. Especially without voiceover.
It is a story-based game, and when I was brought into the project, there was sort of a notion that we wanted to make sure that above all else, this was an emotional game and that we were going to dive into that. I find that if you're looking for just pure intensity, you can get away with just electronic music, electronic pumping music, because the expectation is there for that. But there's not a lot of games that do electronic music in a way where it's more kind of atmospheric or gentle or story-based. There are ones. I'll name Armored Core as a good example of it. But orchestral music just has a tendency to kind of be able to pull people in a little bit more. It's that kind of backing. Everyone has watched a film where they remember the orchestral score to it, where they have played a game where there was this big symphony. And Final Fantasy showcases is better than any of them.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy, there have been sci-fi based games or ones that were more sci-fi. Final Fantasy 13 is a good example, Final Fantasy 7. But they still chose to go with that more bombastic, traditional kind of orchestral sound because it has so much more emotion to it. Now, that isn't to say we're not using electronics. We absolutely are. We are using electronic sounds within Shade Protocol. They're all over the place. They're in the score. If you've watched either of our 2 trailers, I wrote the music for those as well. We're bringing in synthesized elements, especially for intense moments, because they do lead really well to that. But the core of the music and the original backing of it is going to be that orchestral kind of sound, that acoustic instruments. And that's also true with our sound design. Like in a number of our DAUs in our Discord, the developers kind of ask you, we've showcased some of the instrument weapons that we've been using, and we include like a spear, an axe that's based off a guitar, that's based off of a flute, and we're developing the sound of each of these instruments and ones that we will reveal later based around acoustic instruments.
Yeah. It's noticeable in the second trailer where Zura's using the flute in the Owa Bastion area, the flute effects or sound effects as you're using it, as you're hitting opponents and throwing it. Amazing. The guitar, we actually get to hear like the strums of the and stuff like that as the attacks happen. It is fantastic and phenomenal. Also, something I noticed in between the first trailer and the second trailer, because of course we broke down those trailers with Kendall, or at least the second trailer with Kendall, is in the first trailer is very, very fluty, I guess. It's very orchestral, whereas in the second trailer, a lot more emphasis on that guitar. I love it. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. And trailers are interesting because they're in an entirely different class of music too, right?
I bet.
There's an argument with trailers. The goal, unless it's a story-based trailer, which there are ones like that, the goal is to just get the attention of the people.
Yeah.
And your music needs to bring up that level of energy.
Right. And is there a musical theme or motif, if you can share this, tied to Zura, our main character herself? Obviously, she's wielding all of these different instruments, having her own orchestra in her pocket, basically. And if so, how did you approach building that, or are you still building it?
We do have so Zura's theme is also, generally speaking, the same theme as the game.
Got it.
That one is showcased in both of our trailers, as well as the few clips of the in-game music, which I believe have made it into like some of our social media marketing.
Right.
You can find it there. I won't share it exactly because it's possible that we change or develop things, but at this time that is relatively solidified, and it is definitely within our trailer music and within some of our marketing.
Love it. Love it. How closely do you collaborate with Kendo and the rest of the team when designing the music as development continues?
So it's usually a back and forth process. I'm given sort of what prompt is, what kind of the area is. We go through a bit of referencing, so we have some like musical tracks that we have as inspiration to get us kind of close to the goalpost. And then from there, it's honestly a lot more me kind of like building out the stuff and then sending them a kind of version 1, get some feedback, go back to the drawing board, change whatever we need to change, and then do that 2 or 3 times until we're happy. We have at this point like documents of how we want everything to sound, sort of like artistic style documents that we have in the back that are helping us define where we want to be, what our pillars are, and all that stuff, so that we're not starting from complete scratch every single time.
Understood. Is there a specific track you've written for the game so far that you're particularly proud of? And of course, you don't have to share any more details than yes.
I will say yes. There's a boss track that I've worked on that I'm very proud of.
Awesome. Maybe one day in a future Breaking Protocol episode, we will dissect that very track if it's announced. When players finally get their hands on Shade Protocol, what do you hope they feel when they hear your soundtrack?
I'm really hoping to bring them and draw them into that story. I think that that is definitely one of the most unique things about Shade Protocol is that because we're so focused on the music, people who are coming from that traditional Mega Man background, a lot of them will be expecting that kind of like, retro sound or a more kind of electronic-y sound.
Yeah.
So when they kind of hear that first, like, very intense, very emotional music, drawing them into the world, pulling them into the story, we get to kind of watch as they go through the game and those different story beats kind of pull them in. I want to watch as people go from expecting a pure action combat game to seeing how beautiful and how intense the story is of Shade Protocol. And I'm hoping that just really resonates with everybody. And I don't know, I'm just very excited about that. I'm very excited when people get to truly fall into the world and not just see our mechanics or our beautiful art, but see what at the core started Shade Protocol and why we wanted to build this game.
Music, man. Music is a language we all understand, and I understand that in this world, that phrase is taken to a deeper level. Like it's literal, right? Like music is literally the language, or it forms the code of the universe, or however Kendall puts it. With that in mind, does that make you think of the music you're making for this game differently? Or does that give you more inspiration? Does that, make something more thoughtful? Does that make sense?
I mean, every single track that I'm writing for Shade Protocol at this point, we spend a lot of time making sure that the right mood, the right kind of like emotional beats are being presented. It doesn't really necessarily change how I think about the music from like a soundtrack perspective, but it does mean that we put a lot of emphasis on the music being very important and very good, making sure that the musical sound effects are all integrating very well, so there's no kind of like disharmony or clashing, dissonance, kind of stuff like that. More than anything, the music of Shade Protocol at this point is about kind of making sure that whenever players are hearing it, it's inherently understood what needs to be done or what's going on within the world. It's not just mood music. It's telling the story alongside the dialogue.
Love it. Show, don't tell. Love it.
Yeah.
To move on from Shade Protocol until we get you into the Breaking Protocol series, you are also a director at Calgary. Am I saying that right?
Calgary.
Calgary.
Oh, sorry. Calgary. You can sorry, that's the Canadian accent coming out. Calgary, or we call it Calgary. We skip the L entirely.
Okay. You're also a director at the Calgary Game Developers Association, helping support local developers. I think that's super cool. Can you explain what does that role involve?
Yeah, so I've been a director with them for about 4 years now. Calgary is a very young city when it comes to arts and entertainment. I say young, but not completely infantile at this point. Cities like Toronto and Vancouver have traditionally had much larger media backings. They have better tax credits. They have better funding from the government. We've started to see some of that stuff now, though, due to how much kind of energy we put into building up the scene in Calgary. So Calgary is based in a province called Alberta, which is one of the provinces of Canada, for those of you who are coming from the stateside and don't know our provinces. Alberta, we only have one AAA studio. That's BioWare. That's it.
Wow.
We have nothing else. We have a couple of AA studios. Beamdog, they worked on the Oblivion remaster. We have people like Inflection Studios. They create a game called Nightingale. There's Shifty Eye Studios in Calgary, which are working on some unnamed IP at this point. We have Studio Monsoon. They worked on Legends of Moria. But again, all of these are AA except for BioWare. That's it. And then there was recently one new studio which was announced that is working on a Star Wars game that was announced at the
Old Republic one?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Fate of the Old Republic.
Sick.
That's being made by Archinaut Studios. They're based out of Edmonton. Archinaut Studios is developing Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. So they might be AAA, but because of how little there is in Alberta, and keep in mind, this is all Edmonton, which is our a city just a little bit north of Calgary. Calgary is a huge economic hub, but we have been primarily focused on two things, oil and tech. Those have been where a lot of the money comes from in Canada. That's pretty much all that Calgary for a long time thought about. But recently, and I say recently within maybe the past 10 years, Calgary started saying to itself, we want to be more diversified, and so they started investing more into arts and culture. The Calgary game developers have been around since 2015, and they have been pushing hard for basically helping build up the local scene in Calgary, helping game developers wherever is needed. We run meetups, we've run master classes, we help with the local conference that happens here, Alberta Game Series. We actually basically were one of the showrunners of that, or the kind of like original co-runners of it.
Very cool.
The largest, I believe it's still the largest gaming convention in North America,
Wow.
GameCon Canada. We were a partner and still are a partner with that. They've been running now for 4 years up in Edmonton. Like, we have been pushing for a very long time. I joined the board in 2022, but I was around in 2018. Just seeing how the scene has evolved so much.
Very cool.
So to summarize all of this, basically my role as a director at the Calgary Game Developers has been helping build up our local scene because video games just weren't present there. We don't have as big a scene as the larger cities like Vancouver, Edmonton, or Toronto, where AAAs are prevalent everywhere. We break our necks. I would say break a leg, but no, it's much worse than that. We do everything possible to make sure that people who want to be in video game development in Calgary have the resources and space and meetups and whatever else to put their foot in the door there, because it's not a city for that traditionally.
Wow. That is really cool, and I really wish there's more things like that in the world, really. I mean, even in Florida where I am, like, there's not a lot of that stuff happening either, you know? So like I wish, I'm glad that you guys are taking part in your small corner, or I guess big corner, whatever, however you want to perceive it.
It's a small corner.
There you go.
It's not small town like Missouri, but it's small.
Right. It's really cool to see that you guys like care enough to take a step forward, and like, if you guys see a void and you guys are filling it, you guys are taking it upon yourselves to fill in this void and like make a space for other people like you. And I think that's fantastic, man. That's awesome.
It's by the love of the game. Like,
yeah.
When I say that I love video game soundtracks, that doesn't just, it's everything video games. When I'm driving from place to place for these events, often I'm listening to like video game podcasts on the current industry trends. I'm listening to soundtrack music. Video games is everything and everything that I love and want to do. And when I was like 10, I wouldn't say that because it would get me bullied. But now I can say it very proudly, and like, you know, this is how I've always been. Video games are so interesting. I really truly think they're one of the highest forms of art because there's just so many elements coming together.
It connects us in a different way.
It's so cool because you have development, you have art, you have music, you have animation, you have voice acting, you have acting, there's just so much that goes into, there's business, there's also business and marketing. Like, it's a truly ridiculously multifaceted industry, and you get to talk with so many people. So being a part of the Calgary Game Developers as a director was really just, it wasn't so much I should do this, it was I need to do this.
Right.
This is where video games are happening in Calgary, and I wanted to be a part of that in any way that I could. I help run their events, I help run their social media, I'm part of some of the kind of like higher level stuff that's going on, which obviously I can't talk about, but it was just something that I needed to do. And we're all volunteer, all the directors volunteer of that organization, none of us get paid. Like, it's truly just for the love of video games, because we really are all just people who grew up, those nerdy kids, loved video games, got bullied for it, were told, oh, you can't make a career in video games, and well, man, things changed.
I love that so much. That resonates so hard, man. You have no idea. I think you already answered the next question. What excites you most about the indie game scene, or just game scene right now?
Oh my God, there's so much happening. So video games as a whole are in a really bad place right now. Massive amounts of like layoffs in AAA, studios being closed left and right. But obviously the big kind of talking point on the positive note of this is that indie games are really flourishing. Everyone has realized that being able to develop a game on a smaller budget with a more focused approach, like, I'm not trying to create the everything game, I'm creating a game that focuses on this one mechanic. That's the stuff that's really doing well right now, because it serves that specific audience. something that really changed after 2010 with like the rise of things like social media and Reddit, is that if you have a specific niche that you really love, you can find it. I had this conversation with my girlfriend recently. We were talking about unicycling, and I was like, you know what? Calgary is a big enough city. We're actually a relatively large city. We're just not very arts and culture-y. I was like, I guarantee you there's some Facebook group for unicyclists. And lo and behold, 1,200 Calgary Unicycling Club. Like, it's such a niche, but you can find it if you're looking for it. And so indie games, I think more than anything, kind of fall into that line where AAAs, especially the big ones, are chasing after the large majority of the audience, right? If we look at the video game industry from a more objective standpoint, things like FIFA, Call of Duty, they make up like 75% of the market. Like, any of you who love Elden Ring is like 15% market cap.
Yeah, ball and gun
it.
games,
like,
yay!
Like you'd be shocked that some of the biggest AAA titles you've heard of, like Elden Ring and like Oblivion and stuff like that, they're not that big of the market. They're just not. So indie games are a fraction of that. They're like 1%. But within that 1%, you have people who are really into Metroidvanias, people who are really into indie shooters, people who are really into visual novels. And so the indie people working on these like, $2 million budgets or less, sometimes, $0. That happens. Stardew Valley was made on $0. But it serves that specific audience and people love it. So that's the interesting thing, because all these layoffs are happening. Some of these AAA developers are going down to indie, forming their own studios, and they're asking for money from publishers to build this indie game. They're either doing it themselves through like self-funding. And there's just so many titles coming out that are so weird or different or that try something new. But again, it doesn't matter because that specific niche audience that wants that is getting served that.
Right.
It's awesome.
I love that so much. I think it is incredible just seeing how different and refreshing the indie game community is. I agree that there is like a million and one ways to find out how to get involved, but don't you feel like that can also be like choice paralysis? Like, how does one really get involved in X part of being a game developer, indie game developer? I mean, same thing could be said for like voice acting. Like, how does one become a voice actor? Well, like, there's all these sites that you can go to for resources. Like, okay, but like, how do you start? I'm not asking you like, hey, how do you start getting into it? But
no,
like,
I have the path for this.
Okay.
I have the path for this because as a director, we always get this question, like, where do I start? How do I even begin to get into this industry? Because there's no traditional path for it. There really isn't.
Right.
But there's one thing that I always think is a great starting point, and that is going to do game jams. There's a website called itch.io.
Yeah.
On itch.io, you can go to the page that says game jams at the top, click on that. Every weekend without fail, there is a game jam happening. And you can jump into the Discord for that. Say, hey, I'm whatever, I do this. If you do nothing, then start hammering away at something, like pick up either one of the engines like Unity, Unreal, Godot, pick up a music DAW, pick up a pixel art making thing, pick up something, anything. You want to voice act, get yourself like a half decent microphone, $100, and just jump headfirst into it.
Blue Yeti X,
you
good
don't
way to
have
start.
to go. Yeah, like do game jams and just get a feel for what developing a game is. If you're in a city that has it, go to your local meetups. If you're in a city or a town that doesn't have meetups, start it.
Yeah.
I started a number of meetups through the Calgary Game Developers, and we have grown from having me and one other guy to like 20 people every single week at our what we call our Indie Friday. It's an every week thing that we run from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And like, you just need to be the person who begins.
Yeah.
You just need to start doing it, and you'll be shocked at how many people kind of come around. Because video games are huge. Mm-hmm. We're a $200 billion industry, maybe a little bit below that now, or a little bit above. I can't remember what the latest report said. But like, we're a huge industry. We are, or used to be at least, bigger than film, TV, and music combined.
Right.
We are monstrous. So you guarantee that there's people out there, even in your small whatever town in Missouri or wherever else, that wants to make a game or wants to be in music for games, art for games. So yeah, if there isn't a meetup, start it. If you want to do the online stuff, start doing game jams. That's the easiest path. It's the easiest way to kind of get your foot in the door and start learning about this industry.
Love it, man. All right, well, I think it is now time to enter the speed round where I'm going to ask you a bunch of silly, random questions, and we're going to see how you do. You ready?
Okay, let's do this.
If you were the final boss in a video game, what would your title be?
Dillan the Muse.
Dillan the Muse. What would your boss theme music be? And you can choose any song from anywhere or create your own.
Ooh, it would probably be... Oh, man, that's hard, actually. That's really hard. I can't remember the name of the track, but there's a track from Final Fantasy 13 Remake, which I just loved.
7 Remake.
I think it's called... Or 7 Remake, sorry.
I
Final
wish
Fantasy.
13 was remade, man. Come on, Square Enix. What are you doing? You're sleeping. You're sleeping on money.
Oh, man, what's
Remake
the name
the trilogy.
of the track? I'm trying to remember. Let me find it. This is going to bother me.
Do it.
It is... Ignition Flame. Oh, that's such a cool track. Oh, it's awesome.
What boss was that?
That is the... I can't... Roche.
Oh, shit, dude. Yeah, man. That's great.
Like, added character, new from the original Final Fantasy 7, but oh, he's so cool.
He's
I love him.
Yeah. Is there any reference part of you within Shade Protocol planned? You don't have to describe what it is, but like, is there like some kind of self-insert of like, this is you?
Like me personally?
Yeah, like you, Dillan, the character, like the person. Are you like is there like a character based on you? Is there a boss based on you? You know, like you don't have to
be determined.
Got it.
I'll say that much.
Hey, Kendall, let's get on this. Workshop it. If you were a superhero, what would your name be and what powers would you have?
It would be energy-based powers. I love like fire and lightning. That's so cool. And I would be Aurora. That's where my name comes from. It was my first D&D character I ever created. His name was King Aurorus, based on the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. If your character would have a Pokemon, would it be Aurorus? From
No, I
Kalos?
hate that Pokemon.
Really?
No, stole my name. No, my Pokemon would be Flagon.
Okay, I love it. Oh my god. If you can live in the world of your favorite childhood show, movie, or video game, which one would it be and why?
This is a bit of a hot take. I would choose Sword Art Online. People are like, what? Why? Why do you want to go into the death game? Because that was the cool part about it.
Yeah.
The cool part about Sword Art was that it was like early Sword Art for all of you people.
I was about to say, like,
there.
specifically the video game Sword Art Online, not like the others.
Not the Gun Gales, not the Alpine. No. The original Sword Art was so cool because you join this world that's a complete fantasy world, very normal stuff. But if you die, you die. Right? It's not just a video game, and that was why the stakes were so cool about that. For some reason, I'm always drawn to that. I'm always drawn to that world, despite it being technically a very dark story.
Right.
I always thought it was cool.
Which character from your childhood favorite show, movie, or game would you most like to have as a friend in real life? You can say
Naruto
Flygon.
Seems pretty. Nah, Naruto's kind of cool. I love Naruto. Oh man, what a dope guy. He's just cool. Like he's just gonna be your friend.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Sasuke for a second, but then I was like, maybe that's not somebody I want as a friend.
Too depressing. Too emo. Too edgy. If your current favorite show were to be adapted into a musical, what genre of music would you envision for it?
Oh man. It would probably be like fantasy, lighthearted comedy, because my favorite show right now is probably Konosuba.
Ah, okay. I love that.
So it'd be like, what is the genre for that? Fantastical comedy? I don't know.
Fantastical comedy. I love it. If you could attend any fictional event, for example, the Ewok celebration in Return of the Jedi, which one would it be and why?
Oh man, that's such a big question. There's so many things to kind of like throw into that.
And it doesn't have to be positive. Yeah, like it doesn't have to be like a happy-go-lucky thing. It could be something depressing. It could be like when the Titans invaded in Attack on Titan, you know? Like
No, I'm okay. Not that one.
Some people have said that before. Which is crazy.
That's so strange. Oh man, that's such a big question to ask. You know what though? I'm gonna go with something that's maybe a little bit off kilter, but you know, I would pick the jellyfish dance in Stardew Valley.
Oh.
Which is going to be a really weird one. People are like, well, that's not very fantastic. That's not huge. That's not a Final Fantasy epic event or anything. That's like, there's so many cool events. But I think that sometimes I like these fantastical events because they are fantasy.
Yeah.
I like the fact that I don't have to be near it. It's not real. I can kind of get back into the real world. Whereas something like Stardew Valley, like, not even just for going to that event, but being around that group of people, which is so isolated and perfect in its own cute little like farmy way. The Jellyfish Festival in Stardew Valley is that perfect epitome of like a quiet moment. And I feel like there's just not that many in real life anymore.
I haven't heard of realer things be said in a long time. Not enough quiet moments. What activities or pursuits most make you lose track of time?
Cleaning. I'm a really big cleaner. Like, I'm not messy at all. No, I know a lot of creatives are always like, yeah, my studio's a destroyed mess. I'm vacuuming all the time. And I will vacuum or clean, and I'll be like, oh crap, I forgot to do something else.
Forgot to work.
No, I've never forgot to work, thankfully. But yeah, I will lose myself in cleaning, which is maybe a bit of a weird take.
No, I understand. Hey, I'm Latino, man. Like, I get it. Once you start, it's hard to stop. Like, sometimes I could be like getting ready to like go to the gym or something, like stretching at home, and like while I'm stretching, I'm just looking around the house, and I'm like, man, it's dusty. Man, I gotta vacuum.
It's funny you say you're Latino about that, though. So my girlfriend, she's Colombian, and she's the exact opposite. She's a total mess. So, like, I'll be the one cleaning, and she'll be like, what the heck? Why are we cleaning right now? Let's sit down and do something else that's fun. I'm like,
It has to be done.
Vacuum right now.
You can't just start and stop. You have to start and then, like, power through to the end. Yeah.
And she's like, absolutely not. She refuses. She's like, I'm not doing that.
What would your 14-year-old self think of who you are today?
I hope he'd be pretty happy. I think he would be.
Yeah.
14-year-old me was determined that there was no way to make it in video games or music, and I did both. So I think I'm doing pretty well in his eyes, but we'll give you an update in about 4 years.
I love it, man. Well, it is now time for you to recommend 3 people that you'll share this episode with when it comes out, that you think they'll be a good guest on the show, and if you can help me get them on the show.
Yeah. So you know what? People that I think would be really good for this. If I can get Rachel Hardy on the show, I think that'd be great. She's a fantastic composer as well from Calgary. She's worked with Gareth Coker. She's worked with like Austin Wintory on projects. She herself has a really crazy YouTube channel where she does like singing and stuff like that. Amazing artist. I would probably also recommend some of the developers from another project that I was very proud of working on, Dark Age Dinos. If I can get the developers on here, I bet that'd be really cool because they have an awesome story about the development of that project and how it got started and coming from the indie game scene as well. And then I can't name a person's exactly, but I'd love to get one of our local developers from Calgary on here.
Cool.
Because there's just so many cool projects coming out of there, recommending 1 or even 10 or 12 people from the community. I can't name a name right off the bat because I can't think of who would be best. But
name a woman. Do you know
you know what? Actually, you know what? That's funny. That actually gives me an idea. There is a developer in Calgary named Twig, and she has been sort of one of our like pride stars of like solo indie development.
Cool.
She's made some awesome stuff. I'd probably recommend her.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for that. I am more than excited and happy to have all of them on the show. And do you have any final thoughts?
Stay tuned. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up.
Yes, you do. And I cannot wait to cover them here on the show for Breaking Protocol. Like I said, we're going to get you, we're going to get Durrani, we're going to get Pixel, Danny on the show. You know, like all of you guys are going to have eventually your spotlights, and we're going to break down what we can. And I'm so excited, man. Like, dude, Shade Protocol, this is like, I haven't been this excited for a game in a minute. You know, like the last game I was like so excited for was Bo, Path to the Teal Lotus, and we're like good friends with those developers. Shade Protocol, like right now, is the only game I'm really looking forward to. Like,
you're gonna love it.
I know. I bet I
You're
am.
gonna love it.
I bet, dude, and I'm already loving like, you know, being able to like do this with you guys, build, you know, these relationships with you guys, and I think it's fucking awesome. Like as a gamer myself, I'm like, oh my god, this is so fucking cool. But like even like as a professional, like this is awesome. Like I haven't seen the amount of detail and care and like organization that you guys are having before. I mean that's nothing. There's no shade to any previous developers that I know. Just like I haven't seen it. Like it could be like behind the scenes stuff that they're doing. That's great. But like you guys are taking an approach where like you're very community driven, and it's so organized and well like thought out and stuff like that. It's really cool to see, and I can't wait to explore the world of Emeria even more in the future.
Everyone should look forward to it. Anybody who discovers Shade Protocol through this podcast, like we have an open Discord. You're welcome to join. We're poking in there. Kendall is always in there talking to everybody. So if you have questions, like you can probably be in there. There's a funny joke that has been going around in that Discord, which is that Kendall will spoil everything in there, but only in the Discord. So if you want to get early stuff that is not supposed to be said, but often does, go in the Discord and you'll probably get a little crumb or two.
Yes, and we also record Breaking Protocol live in the Discord server, and this is also a good chance for you guys to hear what a live podcast production sounds like. And also he shares some stuff too in between recordings. So like, hey, you never know. But anyways, Dillan, thank you so much for being on the show. And I really do think that your journey that you've shared here on the show is absolutely fascinating. Like this is something that you've been working towards since day one. Basically, you fell in love with this side of the industry, this side of gaming, just gaming in general. Like this has been a part of your life since forever, and now like you're actually doing it, and you're doing an amazing job. I told you, like I've been listening to your music nonstop for like almost the past week, and I think that you are incredible. And I'm not just talking about Shade Protocol. Yeah, Shade Protocol is perfect, but I'm saying your other projects, I think they're great. I think they're fantastic. The things that you've been able to do, the things that you are doing that nobody else does, it's incredible. It's fantastic. You're creating spaces and memories that allow people to come together as a community and like, you know, connect and bond over with. Like that's incredible. Not just the game itself. I'm talking about music, because music allows us to do that more than almost anything else. So, Dillan, just thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being on here, and I mean, we wouldn't do it if we didn't love it.
Yeah.
Video games, and the reason why we're all doing it, everyone on the team, Shade Protocol, and I think most indie game teams really, we just love video games, and that's the reason why we're building ones that we want to give to the community.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode here on the Razzle Dazzle Show. If you want to hear more from Dillan, be sure to follow him on his socials, check out his music on Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, and check out his website at kingaurorusmusic.com. And don't forget to follow Shade Protocol on Kickstarter, wishlisted on Steam, and tune into Breaking Protocol, our mini-series where we break down key updates and development with game director Kendall and the rest of the team. Be sure to let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet. Follow us on our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to rate us 5 stars and leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one.